It was the time when everything began to disintegrate, the time of decay. It was the time of nothing. They believed they could take everything we had, everything. They believed they could take you, and I guess they were sort of right. Did I love you? I was self-absorbed. But you had your beautiful smile. You felt like home. It was so peaceful with you. I was never sad. I wish we were back in the park by the lake, sitting down in the soft grass and throwing breadcrumbs to the swans that leave gold trails in the sunlit water. There's something in the air, like danger is near. Bottles breaking in the street, police radios and car alarms, then silence. Some loud pounding on the front door, bright lights shining through the windows under the door. They wanted to see if some kids they were looking for are hiding inside the house. You tell them there's no one else living here. The burly one snaps at you, "Shut up," which takes me aback. After tramping around the house, they want us to come downtown to ask us some questions. We know we're innocent, so we go. You give me the low hand, everything's gonna be all right sign. The cold is preposterous when we go outside. The sound of vandals in nearby streets makes me shiver. From an upstairs window, a girl sings songs from our childhood. We drank the last of the cognac that night. At the station house, they split us up and take us to separate rooms. I was here once a long time ago when Ellen's new car had been stolen and we came to report it. We were still art students then. She'd left her camera in the car. I'm taken into a cold, concrete room where there's a desk with a bright lamp. I'm told to wait there. A classic police interrogation setup. The figure of a woman is behind the light. A voice tells me to be seated. "This won't take long," she says. A guard who looks maybe 17 handcuffs my ankle to the chair, which I don't understand. Who I am, what people think of me, my standing suddenly don't matter. My interrogators are brutal. First a hard young woman and then a middle-aged man. They want names. Names of our friends. They're not kidding around. I ask my interrogator where you are. She answers me with a silent stare. This can't be happening. I want to talk to a lawyer. You'll talk to a lawyer, she says. But first you need to answer a few questions. Lawyer first, I say. I know my rights. I will not be Helen. Armies will not clash to win me. There's a brushing sound outside my room, then the sound of keys. The sound of your footfalls and you're being dragged down the hall. Someone is yelling at you. The interrogator raises her eyebrows when I look at her. This means, "Now do you understand where he is?" She says I should cooperate, that nobody can help me in here. These techniques are secret, but they have been authorized. There are other secret cells like this around the country too. When I don't tell the woman what she wants to hear, she pulls my hair back as hard as she can and tells me very quietly, "I have all the time in the world. You will eventually tell me what I want to know." She says she's a senior officer and she starts to yell at me when she thinks I'm not speaking loud enough. They'll keep me up for several days so that I'm good and tired and then continue the questioning. I'm so exhausted, I fall asleep standing up. A guard throws a bucket of water in my face and the questions continue. Who was the guy you let into your house? What kind of work does your husband do at home? The sooner you tell me, the sooner you get a lawyer. Her questions are inane. When I refuse to cooperate, she hits an intercom button and I'm taken back to my cell where I'm told to keep walking. If I stop, a guard comes in and hits me in the back of the thighs with a billy club. I collapse. The cold is intense. That's so you'll stay awake. We believed in nothing and we worked hard at it. That's why this was so shocking. The superintendent, as he calls himself, is even more brutal. He and the senior officers switch off. He wants names of the 3 top people in the underground. I have no idea what he's talking about. I didn't even know there was an underground. I tell him I don't know what he's talking about. He slams the heel of his boot into my bare foot and grinds his foot. He screams, saying, "How does it feel to be helping the enemy? Do you fuck them too?" He gets around the back of me and kicks me to the floor. My chin hits the desk. Finally, I give them names and they let me sleep. Then they figure out that I made up the names, which makes them furious. This time, the senior officer and the superintendent are in the room together. They want to know why I deceived them. I say, because I wanted to sleep. They become even more sadistic. I'm put into a chair with restraints. They want to know where to find our friends from the cafe, for our own security. They're connected people. They shout at me. I tell them nothing. No matter how I'm hit, I will not scream. I must get that from my mother. Now I wish that I had been a terrorist. I would have at least been tortured for something I believe in. As it is, I'm tortured for my nothingness. Each night a guard gives me a secret sign that you haven't spoken either. It makes me love you in a way I never felt. It gives me strength. I say nothing. Some of the things they do to me are beyond imagination, so I can't imagine what they did to you. This kind of abuse changes your thoughts. There's nothing more senseless, more cruel than dying before we have become guilty of sins that might justify death. I began to hear less about you from the guard. Remember the glass of cognac in the autumn when you asked me if I would like a child? I eat nothing, but I keep vomiting. I tell the senior officer I think I'm pregnant. She slaps me in the face and says that won't help me. The infirmary nurse says I am pregnant. The senior officer tells me she won't be responsible if my baby doesn't live. It will be because I refuse to cooperate. Anyway, she says it would be better if another animal like me isn't brought into the world. Now she makes me stand for hours on one leg or crouch until I can't anymore. In my cell, my blanket, my clothes, and mattress are taken away from me. I faint. I'm revived with a bucket of water. I vomit. My baby will surely die. I'm given very little food, just vitamins, which I throw up. The superintendent puts a snapshot of us standing together on the table and asks me to identify you. I ask what is happening with you. He answers by ripping the photo in two and lighting your half of the photo with a match. That's what happened, he says, as your face turns to ash. I eat the ashes. He punches me in the head for that. Through the window, I can hear the city, normal life, distant music. I have no news of the world. I don't know how long we've been in here. I still haven't seen a lawyer or been allowed a phone call. Have our friends been arrested, tortured, killed? I've given birth in the infirmary and my child is taken from me. Further punishment for my non-cooperation. I show no emotion. I ask myself whether God exists, maybe for the first time in my life. They tell me that all I need to do is sign a confession they've written that says what you've done. I refuse to read it. The senior officer balls up the paper and shoves it in my mouth. When I was released in the general amnesty, it was almost 3 years since my child had been taken from me. For his own protection, the superintendent tells me, though I've never asked. As I'm leaving, I'm told that it is illegal for me to report what has happened to me. It would be grounds for rearrest. I have to sign a waiver. I didn't get back the old apartment. I'm staying at my brother's, looking for a job. But they sent me a small brown parcel with your jacket and glasses. And a bill. If I'd known they would do this, would I have stayed quiet? I'd rather not think about it. Your official cause of death is suicide. I see sand pouring. Time? It is falling out of a truck. They're putting up new buildings. They're building a bank where the jail was. Where shall I go? How shall I find our child? Our friends are gone. In the street, I hear my name called. It's the guard who told me you had not spoken. He stands in front of a game store in civilian clothes with a woman. He approaches me. A young boy emerges from the store and he puts his arm around him. The boy stares at me with infinitely deep eyes. "This is my son," he says, "and my wife." Does she know who I am? By her thin smile, I know that she does. He gives me a slip of paper with an address. This is where I'll find my son. A little boy opens the front door of an apartment. His eyes are clear blue like yours. His mother appears. It's the senior officer. I want to scream, but she could never make me do that. She was unable to have children. She took him for her own. That's all it was. It was a struggle to get him back. The senior officer became almost hysterical in court. Originally, he had her name. He is named for you now. He keeps your photo by his bed. Dreams come through sacred gateways. Sacred dreams carry weight. I will go on raising our son. You will go on too, where you are. But at night, which frees imprisoned spirits, we alone will hold each other. You released from beyond, I released from today. We are back by the lake in the soft grass, throwing breadcrumbs to the swans that leave gold trails in the sunlit water. At dawn, you slip away from my embrace. It is enough to know that in the end we will be where they can never come for us. But we will meet again here tomorrow night.